Sandwich by Catherine Newman. A silver Subaru station wagon navigates the crowded, sun-drenched roads of Cape Cod, carrying a woman who is suspended perfectly in the middle of her life. Rachel, affectionately known as Rocky, is 54 years old and in the agonizing, sweat-drenched throes of menopause. She is a woman whose body feels like a satchel of scars and secrets, her hair turning brittle, her skin becoming creepy, and her emotions a volatile mix of fierce love and sudden, blinding rage. Beside her is her husband, Nick. Nick is handsomely graying at the temples, endlessly patient and relentlessly good-natured, a practical man who reads deck-building manuals on the beach and often navigates his wife's emotional storms with a stoic, sometimes baffling placidity. They are arriving at the same rustic, cedar-shingled rental cottage they have visited every summer for 2 decades. But this year, the quaint traditions of saltwater taffy and clam strips are heavily shadowed by the shifting dynamics of a family growing up and growing old. The cottage is soon filled with their grown children. Their 24-year-old son, Jamie, is a picture of aggressive mental wellness, possessing dark hair that spills over his forehead, hazel eyes, a lean jaw, and an endlessly accommodating spirit. He brings his girlfriend, Maya, a 24-year-old paleontology PhD student who is staggeringly beautiful, with cascading shiny black curls, golden green eyes, a tiny silver nose hoop, and a quiet, brilliant calmness. Completing the family is 20-year-old Willa, Rocky's fiercely intelligent, clinically anxious, and deeply empathetic queer daughter, sporting dark shorn hair, apple cheeks, and a dyke tattoo. The vacation begins with the messy, hilarious realities of shared living, a failing, ancient septic system that overflows on their first day, forgotten swimsuits, and Rocky grappling with her changing body while fiercely missing the exhausting, sticky days when her children were small and entirely dependent on her. As the week unfolds through a comforting haze of sunscreen, heavily packed coolers, and meticulously crafted deli sandwiches, the easy vacation rhythm is quietly fractured by hidden truths. One morning, Maya wakes up violently ill. Seeking out Rocky, the young woman quietly confesses that she is pregnant. Maya is calm but undecided about what to do, swearing Rocky to secrecy because she has not yet told Jamie. Carrying this secret places a heavy burden on Rocky, not because she judges Maya, but because it acts as a brutal trigger for Rocky's own deeply buried trauma. Through sudden, visceral memories, Rocky is repeatedly pulled back to a specific summer at this very beach when Jamie was 4 and Willa was an infant. Rocky had discovered she was pregnant again. Completely overwhelmed, exhausted to the point of delirium, and silently suffocating under the crushing responsibility and terror of keeping her 2 young children alive, she knew she could not bear another. Desperate and engulfed by a terrifying preemptive grief, she secretly took medication to terminate the pregnancy. Unable to voice her profound despair and shame to Nick, who had cheerfully assumed they would keep the baby, she told him and everyone else that she had suffered a miscarriage. The suffocating guilt of that solitary choice and the isolating grief of hiding it has haunted her for 20 years, hanging over her marriage like an invisible sheet of glass. Midweek, the emotional stakes of the cramped cottage heightened drastically with the arrival of Rocky's elderly parents for a 2-night stay. Alice, Rocky's mother, is a beautiful, white-haired woman who is incredibly frail but fiercely elegant and sweet. Mort, her father, is a white-haired man with bushy eyebrows and a cranky, argumentative, yet deeply loving demeanor. As the expanded family sits on the wooden deck eating cocktail shrimp, Willa gently questions her grandfather about his ancestry. Mort casually mentions that his own grandparents died in Treblinka. The revelation stops Rocky cold. For her entire life, her father had concealed the specific, horrific truth of how their family perished in the Holocaust, leaving Rocky to absorb the ambient, unexplained grief of his childhood. This sudden unveiling of generational trauma forces Rocky to confront how much pain families silently carry and conceal in the name of protecting one another. The suffocating midsummer heat eventually takes a terrifying physical toll. During a crowded afternoon at the beach, Alice suddenly collapses in the sand. Panic erupts as lifeguards are summoned, and an ambulance rushes the frail matriarch to the local emergency room. It is ultimately diagnosed as severe dehydration and heat exhaustion, but the stark terror of nearly losing her mother cracks Rocky wide open. As they wait in the sterile hospital courtyard, Willa casually shares a piece of news. She overheard Jamie and Maya talking in the outdoor shower back at the cottage. Jamie knows about the pregnancy, and he is being incredibly supportive, completely willing to support Maya in whatever choice she makes. Willa's casual, non-judgmental acceptance of the situation stands in stark contrast to the deep, internalized shame Rocky has carried for decades. That night, seeking a quiet escape from the overflowing house and the relentless heat, Rocky and Willa drive to a secluded local kettle pond for a night swim. Floating on their backs in the dark, cool water under a blanket of stars, the conversation turns intimate. Emboldened by her daughter's immense empathy, Rocky finally breaks her 20-year silence. She confesses the truth. She did not have a miscarriage. She had an abortion because she was drowning in the sheer terror of motherhood, and she has regretted and grieved it entirely alone ever since. Willa immediately wraps her mother in love, validating her complex grief and assuring her that she had every right to make that choice and absolutely nothing to be ashamed of. It is a moment of profound, healing grace between mother and daughter. But as they wade back toward the shoreline, a figure emerges from the shadows. It is Nick. He had walked down to join them and overheard the entire confession. Back in the quiet dark of the cottage, Nick and Rocky finally face the devastating truth of their marriage. Nick is not explosive or cruel, but he is profoundly hurt and disoriented. He realizes that for 2 decades, he has been mourning a miscarriage while his wife was secretly burying a much more complicated despair. He points out that Rocky has spent years in couples therapy furious at him for not truly seeing her, while she actively hid the most painful part of herself from him. Rocky tearfully admits her deep shame, her fear of being misunderstood, and her anger at the brutal, messy biological reality of being a woman. Nick, demonstrating the quiet, steady love that has anchored their lives, pulls her into his arms, wiping her tears. Their bond is deeply bruised, but ultimately, they choose to bear the weight of it together. The following morning brings a renewed sense of chaotic, joyful life. Over a massive breakfast of pancakes and bacon, Jamie and Maya gather the family and joyfully announce their engagement. They choose to focus entirely on their shared future, keeping the outcome of the pregnancy private, a boundary the family gracefully accepts. Shortly after, Alice and Mort pack up their car. As Rocky watches her parents drive away, surviving another day, she reflects on the crushing, beautiful weight of existence. She realizes that the secret to bearing the immense burden of love is not in avoiding the pain, the grief, or the relentless aging of the body, but in embracing the absolute, messy entirety of it. The narrative leaps forward into the after. Alice eventually passes away in hospice, gently slipping away after offering Rocky the comforting wisdom, famously penned by Helen Keller, that death is no more than passing from one room into another. The family gathers once more, this time in a bustling backyard for Jamie and Maya's wedding. As Willa delivers a heartfelt toast, urging the couple to never keep secrets that matter, Rocky stands beside Nick, watching her children step into their own futures. She reflects on the William Blake poem she had quoted on the drive to the Cape, that we are put on earth a little space, that we may learn to bear the beams of love, and accepts that while their hearts will always be vulnerable to profound sorrow, they are as young, as whole, and as beautifully alive as they will ever be.